Hello everyone. Welcome to this video on deploying a Bold BI server in a Microsoft Azure environment. Bold BI supports deployment in two ways: self-deployment and deployment on Microsoft Azure Marketplace. In this video, you will see how to self-deploy a Bold BI server on the Microsoft Azure portal. Let me share details about the recommended VM configuration to use Bold BI server on Microsoft Azure. You can use general-purpose VM sizes for testing or development environment, and memory-optimized VM sizes for production environment. Please refer to our documentation in this video description to know about the recommended specifications for testing, development, and production environments. Let me open the virtual machine I had created for a testing environment. Here, you can see the Bold BI server deployed in the Microsoft Azure environment. Let's see how to do this deployment step by step. First, you need to create a virtual machine in the Azure environment based on the recommended Azure VM configuration to install the Bold BI server. Once the VM is created, you need to connect the virtual machine through a remote desktop connection. Then, you need to enable IIS features to run the Bold BI server and install the Bold BI setup in the virtual machine. Finally, you have to follow the steps for the application startup to create and manage dashboards in the Bold BI server in the Azure environment. First, let me show you how to set up the Microsoft Azure VM. Go to the Azure portal, which I have already signed into. I already have a resource group, and now I'm going to create a virtual machine under this group. Next, we need the Windows Server Marketplace. Click Create, enter Windows Server in the search box, and choose the Windows Server option as the software plan. You can check the system requirements in the documentation I have linked to in the video description. Once clicked, choose the latest data center, which is the Windows Server 2019 data center, and click Create. Now, the virtual machine configuration screen will prompt us to provide the necessary admin and storage details to create the VM. The subscription and resource group are selected by default. Enter the VM name, set the region and image options, and choose the size that meets your system requirements. Then you need to set the administrator account. Provide the username and set the password. Once you've confirmed the password, choose the inbound ports HTTP and HTTPs along with the default RDP. Click Next and choose the OS disk type under the Disks tab. I am selecting standard SSD for the testing environment. You can choose premium SSD for the production environment. Next, navigate to the Networking tab and choose Advanced in the NIC Network Security group. Then, we need to configure the Network Security group and create an inbound rule that allows specific types of internet traffic to reach your VM. Click Create New and enter the required values by clicking the Add an Inbound rule. Choose HTTP as the service, 100 as the priority. Provide HTTP_rule as the name and click Add. Again, create a rule for HTTPs. Choose HTTPs as the service, 101 as the priority. Provide HTTPS_rule as the name and click Add. Then, click OK. Then click Review plus Create and review your settings. Click Create. Now the virtual machine is created. Once the VM is created, you can connect the virtual machine through a remote desktop connection from a Windows computer. For Mac and Linux users, I have provided the reference links in the video description to learn how to connect virtual machines. Now let me explain how to connect from a Windows machine. Enter into the VM and click Connect. Choose RDP and download the .rdp file and open it from your local machine. A dialog will open. Click Connect. Now the Windows Security dialog will appear. Choose Use a different account, provide the credentials you gave while creating the VM and click OK. Next, the Identity Verification window will open. Click Yes to accept the certificate errors for this connection. The virtual machine gets opened. Next, we need to enable IIS, along with IIS features and roles, to run the Bold BI server. Open the Server Manager, select the Manage option available at the top, and choose Add Roles and Features. Click Next. Select roles-based or feature-based installation, and click Next to choose Select a server from the server pool. Then, move to Server Roles, enable the Web Server, IIS, and click Add Features. From the features, select the latest .NET Framework feature. And from Role Services, choose the required web server components and click Add Features. I've included a link to the documentation page about the required components in the video description. Click Next and then Install. Finally, the installation is completed. Click Close. Now, IIS is enabled in the Windows Server OS. Next, we need to install and deploy the Bold BI server in the VM. I have already downloaded the Bold BI server setup in the Azure VM. Click and open the setup. Then, agree to the terms and conditions and click Next. The Install Settings options for configuration will be shown. You can change the installation location, and if required, the port number or site name can be modified. By default, the additional settings create Start Menu Group, create Desktop Shortcut, and change firewall settings to allow access to outside machines are enabled. You can disable these settings if you don't need them. Click Next. Then, click OK for the warning related to enabling IIS features to install the setup. Then, give consent to use the third-party library Phantom.js. This tool is used to take screenshots of the dashboard. Without this tool, some features of the dashboard will not work. Read the terms and conditions and click Next. Now, I need to give my consent to install a few additional client libraries. Read the license terms of each library and choose the ones you need. You can skip this process and do it later at the location listed on the page found in the Client Library Installer file. Using this, we can install the client libraries when needed. You can also refer to the documentation to do this, for which I have provided the link in the video description. Now, click Install. After installation is successful, click Launch Application to launch Bold BI Embedded Edition in the default browser. I have already installed Chrome and made it the default browser in the virtual machine. Then, click Log in to activate account to proceed with the installation and choose the portal license. If you have only one subscription under your account, then this step will not be displayed. Now, installation and deployment of the application are completed. Next, let's see how to start and configure Bold BI Embedded Edition. The Bold BI application requires a database location to store user profile details and user resources like dashboards, permission details, data extracted for specific connections, and multi-tenant site information. This is called Application Startup, and it helps configure storage options and admin account setup. To configure the Bold BI server, I can choose the server type from Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL, or PostgreSQL, which supports Azure PostgreSQL and Amazon Aurora with PostgreSQL, to store the site details. To connect with the PostgreSQL database, I need to install the PostgreSQL client library while installing Bold BI Embedded Edition. I choose the PostgreSQL server. I provide the credentials that support the Azure environment and enter the name of the database where Bold BI will store the user profile details and multi-tenant site details. Credentials given to connect to the PostgreSQL server instance must have permissions to create databases, create tables, and more. I've listed a link to documentation about the permission requirements in the video description. You can create a new database if you want, or you can choose an existing database from the server. Also, you can enable SSL for securing data transfers between Bold BI and your PostgreSQL server. Click Next to proceed. Then, choose the storage type to maintain the Bold ID resources. I choose File Storage. Click Next. Now, the website will redirect you to create an admin account for the Bold BI server. Enter a name and an email address and set the password for the admin account. While creating the new user account, a new system administrator group will also be created. By default, the System Administrator group has permission to create dashboards, data sources, and more. To learn more about the default permissions that we provide, check out the documentation link in the video description. After confirming the password, click Next. Then, I need to configure the site. I use the default site name and site identifier. You may provide a unique name, since this will be part of your URL. Click Next. Let's move to the next database configuration. As I said earlier, database credentials are required to store dashboards, users, and their permissions. Provide the credentials. And click Next. Then, choose the storage type to maintain the Bold BI resources. I choose File Storage and click Next. Again, I need to configure the data store, which acts as an intermediate database. Here, imported data from web data sources and statistic files are stored. It also stores the data offline to help users access the dashboards quickly. Finally, click Next. Now, you can get started with the Bold BI server. You can learn how to configure the application startup and learn about the permissions required to configure database connections in our documentation. You can find the documentation link in the video description. There are two options from here: Manage your sites and go to Dashboards. Manage your sites allows you to manage permissions for the sites created. Go to Dashboards allows you to create, edit, update the dashboards, and contains more options. I select the Go to Dashboards option. Finally, the application is configured and you are ready to create interactive dashboards. To learn more about Bold BI user interface and creating a dashboard from scratch, check our videos, and I have linked to in the video description. In this video, I have shown you how to self-deploy a Bold BI server in an Azure VM. You can refer to the help documentation links in the description for more. We have also seen how to install and deploy the downloaded setup in a VM, start and configure Bold BI. Bold BI Embedded Edition can be manually upgraded to the latest version at any time. You can also upgrade the VM to the latest version. Links to documentation on this are also in the video description. To download the latest version or add more servers based on your deployment needs from the Bold BI site, click the profile icon available here. It will redirect you to the Accounts page. Here, you can manage your subscription plans, make payments, and add more servers. Please leave a comment for any questions you may have, or if there are any additional features you would like to see in Bold BI. Thanks for watching this video.